What is society? Meaning and characteristics. Etymologically speaking, the term society is derived from the Latin word socius, which means a companion, association, or fellowship. This is because humans always live in the company of their fellow human beings. As a matter of fact, this led George Simmel to remark that sociability is the essence of society. But viewed from a broader perspective, the term society is understood in different senses. In our day-to-day discussion, society is used to refer to the members of specific groups, for example, the Dayak society in Borneo. At some other time, it refers to some institutions like the Society of Jesus. It could also refer to an association like consumer society, cooperative society, or cultural society. The term society is also used in the sense of a group, such as rural society or urban society. But in sociology, the term society refers not to a group of people, but to the complex pattern of the norms or interaction or relationships that arise among them. Here, people exist only as an agent of social relationships. Hence, mere congregation of individuals do not constitute society. Rather, society refers to the complicated network of social relationships, by which every individual is interrelated with her fellow human beings. Hence, the term society is abstract, not concrete, in nature. It is also important to note that in sociology, society is viewed as a process of living, not a thing, a motion rather than structure. For this reason, a system of social relationships is the most important aspect of society. To understand the meaning of the term society more clearly and exactly, we must look towards the definitions given by sociologists. But it must be noted that sociologists are not unanimous in their opinion about society. As a result, we come across two types of definitions, namely, structural and functional definitions. But it must be noted that these two views are not contradictory, but complementary to each other. Structural views of society. According to this view, society is nothing but a structure. Hence, for the structuralist view, society refers to the social heritage of folkways, mores, ideals, institutions and habits. Adherents of this views include Morris Ginsburg, F. H. Giddings, G. D. H. Cole, and J. F. Cuba. For Ginsburg, a society is a collection of individuals united by certain relations, or modes of behaviors, which mark them off from others who do not enter into these relations, or who differ from them in behavior. Giddings defines society as the union itself, the organization, the sum of formal relations in which associated individuals are bound together. For Cole, society is the complex of organized associations and institutions within the community. And for Cuba, a society may be defined as a group of people who have lived long enough to become organized and to consider themselves and be considered as a unit more or less distinct from other human units. Functional views of society. According to the functional views, society is a process of social relationships. Hence, this view considers society as a complex of groups in reciprocal relationship, interacting among themselves, and carrying on an interdependent life and helping each other in fulfilling their wishes. Adherents of this view include Robert Morrison McIver and Charles H. Page, Talcott Parsons, Charles H. Cooley, and Eleanor Burke Leacock. For McIver and Page, society is a system of usages and procedures, authority and mutual aid, of many groupings and divisions, of controls of human behavior and of liberties. Parsons defines society as the total complex of human relationship in so far as they grow out of action in terms of means and relationship, intrinsic or symbolic. For Cooley, society is a complex of forms or processes, each of which is living and growing by interaction with the others, the whole being so unified that what takes place in one part affects all the rest. While for Leacock, society includes not only the political relations by which men are bound together, but the whole range of human relations and collective activities. From the above analysis, we can conclude that we cannot have an absolute, one-size-fits-all definition of society. The least that we have is the idea that, from a wider angle, society is considered as both a structural as well as functional unit. It is an organization, a system, and a pattern. It is a system of rules and regulations which changes in course of time. Also, society is a larger group of which individuals are members. Elements or characteristics of society. It is important to note that a comprehensive understanding of society requires a thorough understanding of its basic elements or characteristics, which includes 1. Population, 2. Likeness, 3. Differences, 4. Interdependence, 5. Cooperation and conflict, 6. Society as a network or web of relationships, 7. Permanent nature, 8. Society as abstract, 9. Society as dynamic, and 10. Comprehensive culture. Population. A society must have population. Without a group of people, no society could be formed. Of course, society refers not to a group of people, but to system of social relationships. But for the establishment of social relationships, a group of people is necessary. Likeness. Scholars argue that likeness is the most important characteristic of society. Famous sociologist McIver opines that society means likeness. Without a sense of likeness, there could be no mutual recognition of belonging together, and, therefore, no society. This sense of likeness was found in early society on kinship, and in modern societies, the conditions of social likeness have broadened out into the principles of nationality. Society consists of like-bodied and like-minded individuals. Friendship, intimacy, and association of any kind would be impossible without likeness. Differences. Along with likeness, differences is another important characteristic of society. Because society involves differences, and it depends on it as much as on likeness. That is why McIver opines that primary likeness and secondary differences create the greatest of all institutions, the division of labor. This is because differences is complementary to social relationship. If people will be alike in all respect, society could not be formed and there would be little reciprocity, and relationship became limited. Interdependence. Interdependence is another important characteristic of society. This fact of interdependence is visible in every aspect of present-day society. Famous Greek philosopher, Aristotle, remarked that man is a social animal. As a social animal, he is dependent on others. The survival and well-being of each member is very much dependent on this interdependence. Indeed, no individual is self-sufficient. Individuals have to depend on others for shelter and security, and for the fulfillment of many of his needs and necessities. Cooperation and conflict. Both cooperation and conflict are another important characteristic of society. In fact, famous sociologist McIver once remarked that society is cooperation crossed by conflict. Cooperation is essential for the formation of society. Without cooperation there can be no society. People can't maintain a happy life without cooperation. Cooperation also avoids mutual destructiveness. Like cooperation, conflict is also necessary for society. Conflict acts as a cementing factor for strengthening social relations. In a healthy and well-developed society, both cooperation and conflict coexist. This is because with the help of these two universal processes, society is formed. Hence, conflict can make cooperation meaningful. As a network or web of social relationships. Society is a network or web of social relationship. In fact, social relationships is one of the foundations of society. That is why McIver remarked that society is a network of social relationship. Permanent nature. Permanency is another important characteristic of society. It is not a temporary organization of individuals. Society continues to exist even after the death of individual members. Society is abstract. Society is an abstract concept. As Wright has rightly remarked, society in essence means a state or condition, a relationship, and is, therefore, necessarily an abstraction. Besides, society consists of customs, traditions, folkways, mores, and culture which are also abstract. Society is dynamic. The very nature of society is dynamic and changeable. Indeed, no society is static. Every society changes, and changes continuously. Old customs, traditions, folkways, mores, values, and institutions got changed, and new customs and values take place. Comprehensive culture. Culture is another important characteristic of society. Each society has its own culture which distinguishes it from others. Culture is the way of life of the members of a society, which includes their values, beliefs, art, morals, and like. Culture is comprehensive because it fulfills the necessities of social life and is culturally self-sufficient. Besides, each society transmits its cultural pattern to the succeeding generations.